Music Marketing TV. Today we are looking at Mastercheck and how easy it is to quickly check your mix before you release it to a platform. This is something you're going to want to do in order to make sure it's going to sound a way that you like on that platform. So in Mastercheck, there's a bunch of presets here. And just to give you a quick look at just sort of what's available, there you go. But we're going to be looking here at YouTube. And if you right click on a YouTube video and then open stats for nerds, if you click like directly on the video, you right click on it, there will be a little window that pops up that'll actually tell you the codec that it's using. So for me, I see Opus usually. That's the one that pops up. So we're going to go with that, the Opus Music Codec. And when we play our track, there's a few things we're looking for. First, we want to make sure that we're hitting our target loudness. So this is a moving target, and it's also not the most real target for some streaming services. So some services say they have a loudness target, but then they won't actually normalize your track. And so you want to do a little bit of research where you're releasing beforehand. But YouTube, last I checked, was at minus 14 LUFS. So we want to hit minus 14. Now this is LKFS. It's pretty much the same thing. There's like some subtle differences, but you can see it as the same thing. So that's the loudness target I'll be aiming for. And so when I do my mix, what I'll do is I'll play it from start to end, and I want to hit that target. There's another value here though that is very useful, and this is the PLR. This is the peak loudness ratio. This is an expression of crest factor. It's an expression of the loudest peak to the average level. And what this tells you is how much dynamics you have. So if this number is very small, then the average level is very close to the loudest peak, which means you have a very highly compressed track, which usually is not a good thing. If two tracks have the same loudness, the one that has a bigger PLR or crest factor, that's going to be the one that generally is going to just sound better. It's going to have some more punch to it. It's going to be more expressive. And so the name of the game is to hit your loudness ratio and try and keep this sort of as big as possible for most genres of music. So here, there's like, people will throw out numbers all the time. Some say you need to be bigger than 8. Some say 10 is the magic number. I try to just stay away from absurdly small numbers, and then I judge it with my ears. It's honestly the best advice I can give. I don't really have a hard and fast number rule that I try to stick to. So let's start playing this. And when we look at this, we'll just sort of check the values here. And what's great about this is if we're above or below, you can click this offset to match, and it will automatically push it to the value. So if you were to just straight up change the volume of your mix, you can sort of get a preview to what a streaming service might do if it were to normalize your track. So that gives you a bit of a vibe. I'd have to go through the drop. It's play through the whole thing. So it's kind of a longer process. But you can see I'm sitting fine here. I could offset to match and honestly get some gain out of this. So I have some headroom that is still available to me mix-wise. So I probably will want to use that. And then also, you may have noticed there's a PSR and a PLR. So the PSR is a short-term measurement. It's like the last 3 seconds, somewhere in there. And so this is like a moving crest factor. So as you go through, it will tell you the dynamics of particular sections as you go. This one is less informative. I mean, if you're looking at the drop and this is consistently like really low, then maybe that might set off some alarm bells. But in general, you're going to care more about what the PLR has to say over the PSR. And yeah, that gives you a general overview. Now, what makes it really cool here is besides these 2 meters, we've got here a peak meter, which is nice. You want a true peak meter, which is what this is. It deals with inter-sample peaking. So you might have 2 samples that both look under, but when they get connected, it might actually go over the limit that you're going for. And so in that case, you want to know about that. So a true peak meter will do that for you. It avoids inter-sample peaking. That's what we call that. But we have this encode section. So I can actually choose the Opus codec and monitor the Opus codec and to hear what that's going to sound like. These other ones, that's cool, but this is the one that I noticed pops up a lot. So I have a little more interest in this one, and I could play it. And I'm going to tell you right now, when you're doing this, I always at first have a hard time hearing any difference. A lot of the times this often doesn't matter, but it can matter. And that's the thing. You want to be able to check it real quick. And then if something happens that you're like, oh my goodness, I don't want this section to sound like that, given this, you're given a chance to actually go and change things before you upload it. So you have a better idea of what's happening. But you can actually do a little delta listening. So this will actually show you what's being removed, and I'm not sure how you say this, Vorbis, and the Opus. The Vorbis in particular removes a whole lot. It's actually kind of mind-blowing how much they get rid of, and it still sounds pretty good. But let's just listen to this delta real quick. So this is the stuff that's being taken out by the codec. You see on those yells, quite a bit's being taken out there. Let's do the Vorbis too, because this one just blows my mind. That's like the track. It's like, well, if we monitor it, I mean. Blackout. It's still pretty much there. I mean, it sounds nowhere near as good. In this one, you can hear phasing and things going on. But I'm so blown away at the amount of stuff that's removed with this, and it's still pretty much there. The Opus is the one that's typically used. Thankfully, I have not seen this one pop up there. But this is something where you might go through, you might listen to a couple sections. Like I noticed at the those screams that I have. Blackout. I don't even know where I have them here. I think it's right here. We do the delta. I might say, hey, I want to pay a little more close attention to that when I listen on the monitor and decide if I'm fine with the way it sounds or if I want to try and change something. This one has so much coming through. I don't even know where to begin to focus. Like, I guess I'd just call it quits if they're using that. Tell them to use a better codec. But this can be very helpful from time to time. Every now and then you'll catch something that you're grateful you caught before it went up, because then pulling it back down and making a change, if it bothers you that much, is a pain. And a lot of times it's just not worth the effort or the battle to take it all the way back down and then reload it all the way back up, depending on where and how you're releasing it. So very nice. So again, this is the YouTube situation that I'm looking at specifically, but there are plenty of others in here. A lot of times you release to a group of platforms depending on who you distribute through. So a lot of times you might want to check this with a couple different services. And if you can release platform specific, this tool becomes even more valuable, because now you can really customize to where you're releasing if you want just the total highest ability to check what's happening. If you have any questions about that, let me know. This is just typically how I tend to use this in my workflow. Do you do something different? Have you made use of this tool? I'd like to hear your advice on using a tool like this. Thanks for watching and have a blessed day.
We'll be right back.